This is a response to LiveLife8072 and his video, which looks like it's going to be the first of a series called Religion and Mental Disorders. Now, the one thing I do like about your video, the one thing I will give it credit for, is you do admit to not being qualified in this area. I'm not qualified in it either. I'm not a mental health professional. For that reason, if I ever did decide that I wanted to make a video on this sort of subject, what I would do is ask some of the mental health professionals I know. I do know a couple, if they'd be kind enough to proofread my transcript for me. I'd send it to them. If I found that there was a lot of errors in it, if they picked up a very, very large number of errors, I might abandon the project. I think if my knowledge of it is this poor, probably not the sort of video I should be making. That would be my thoughts there. If you have consulted mental health professionals on this, you haven't put any sources in the description of your video. I've not seen anything, nor have you really cited any. So it's not a good start for me, really. Now, I've heard plenty of people say things like religion is a mental illness and things like that, but none of them have been mental health professionals as far as I'm aware. I've never heard a mental health professional say religion is a mental disorder. Now, what's notable here, the other thing was that you did use the word most, not some. You said you think most religious people are suffering from some sort of mental disorder, and you mentioned psychosis. That's significant. If you said most, that means you're not just referring to people like Venom Fang X, who, you know, shows severe signs of instability when he's screaming at his camera dressed as a Joker, or people like Jason Burns. Jason Burns has admitted to having had a mental breakdown at some point in his past. So, while there certainly are theists who do have, you know, mental problems, certainly do suffer from mental illness, you said most. You're not, so this means you're including all the people who just toddle off to church and sing a few hymns on a Sunday. You're including everyone, all the Sunday Christians. You're saying they all suffer from psychosis? I really would be very surprised if any mental health professionals would agree with you about that. If they do, please can you post me the sources? Because I'll be honest with you, I find that a very bizarre claim. Then you further follow along the same line when you show a montage of what I'm assuming are religious criminals, religiously motivated criminals, or people presumably who have been diagnosed as mentally ill. Again, that's, as far as I know, a fallacy of composition. If I think that's the right fallacy I'm using there, you know, that which is true for the part is true for the whole. These people are, as far as I'm aware, an exception rather than the rule. Again, these are people who still a very small number of people. You make the same problem. You know, you're showing footage of religious craziness. You're showing footage of someone speaking in tongues, as far as I'm aware. Again, it's not a typical example of a Christian or of any religious person, is it? So, not really sure why you're posting that. The thing that's really concerning, though, then is then you go on to make a comparison between people dancing in a church and people dancing in a psych ward. I don't know what you're trying to prove with that. If I showed you some footage of some drunk people dancing and then some footage of people dancing in a psych ward, would you think that was a good case for saying drunkenness is a mental illness? Somehow I doubt it. You know, people dance. Dancing is not what makes these people in this psych ward, by the way, mentally ill. That's not not one of the indicators. That's not why they ended up there. We didn't say, oh, there's people that are dancing, I think you need to test them, you know, I think you need to test them for mental illness. That's not why they're there. I just think that's a very odd thing to choose. You've also told people that they should, next time they see people dancing in a church, they should think of that. So you're putting an idea into people's heads there. You know, you're putting a bias into people's heads, which I don't think is particularly responsible. I will watch the rest of your series, but to be honest, we're not really off to a very good start so far. I don't personally think religion or religious belief is a mental illness. I agree with some claims that certain religious people are mentally ill, but then so are certain non-religious people. There's a number of notable atheists who've quite happily admitted to having suffered mental illness. I know D. Van den Cole has said that he does suffer, I think, some bipolar disorder, I think, He did an interview with Leighton Way a while ago, and he has said he takes certain medication for it. So it's certainly not exclusive to religion, nor is it. I don't really think it's typical of religion. You do get religious people who work as mental health professionals. I just think this is very odd. I just don't think you've really got this off to a very good start. I'm not predicting it will continue well. I will watch the rest of your video series and see what you have to say, but I'm not that impressed with what I've seen so far, to be honest. And personally, I think when people say religion is mental illness, they're practicing pseudoscience. They're doing the same sort of thing that creationists do when they sort of show bits of science which they think supports what they believe, while sort of sheerly ignoring anything which doesn't support what they believe, which is, let's face it, a hell of a lot. So they're not making scientifically accurate claims. What's worse, they're trying to disguise their beliefs as somehow scientifically accurate or scientifically based. I really think that's what you're doing here. You're not the only person who does this, but you're taking looking at very certain aspects of religious practice and trying to sort of equivocate those to practices of the mentally ill. And you've looked at some very specific examples of religious people and shown their mental illness or their signs of possible mental illness as some sort of proof of your point or evidence for your point. Yeah, I'm not convinced by that. So I'll wait and see what else you've got to say, but I'm a bit bothered by this. This whole meme of religion being a mental illness is one I'd like to see an end to be honest. It doesn't do the cause of atheism or anti-theism or secularism or humanism or anything like any favours at all. If you're telling lies to try and promote what you think, to promote your point of view, you're doing your side of the argument a lot more harm than good. And that is what I think you're doing here, either knowingly or unknowingly. I think you are spreading untruths here. So that's what I've got to say. I'd be interested to hear what anyone else has to say, but I'm really not going to be very patient with people just asserting that religion is a mental illness or providing anything similar. I do want to hear some actual evidence, some links to any peer-reviewed essays or whatever from mental health professionals that can lend any credence to this meme, because other than that I'm not interested in just having been clobbered over the head by the same silly claims by people. So that's all I've got to say so far. Yeah, anyone wants to leave some comments or thoughts, yeah, if you could post them in the comment section, that would be great. Goodbye.